Hey there guys, so this time I was asked about how to do pull-ups as an heavier athlete. Now there's a few different things that go into this, but I'm going to start with the most simple one. So for me, when I'm doing pull-ups, I concentrate on pulling from my elbows down towards my waist. And I find for that, if I initiate the movement with my back, it's a lot easier than trying to pull with the arms, and that's a mistake that a lot of people make. Now, it takes a little bit to get used to, so for me, for my top set, I try and crank out as many reps as I roughly can with relatively good form. That just helps grease the groove and you just build general strength that way. If you can't pull yourself up as high, don't stress too much, but the first step in that is retracting the scapula and then pulling from the elbows down towards the waist. After I've done my top set, I sometimes do a few explosive pull-ups, which I just showed there, and that's just getting used to really trying to generate power and clear yourself well above the bar. Now with those ones, I don't take to failure, because if the form starts to drop off, it becomes a real jolting sensation in my shoulders, and for a lot of people that will cause aggravation. If I do it like that, it's going to cause further issues. The other one I sometimes do as well is the static holds. Try and work that top portion of the lift, because that's the area that I struggle most on with this lift. So if you can work on your weaknesses, it's going to make a very big difference to how you perform the movement. And then at the end, I just follow it up with just straight reps, 10 reps per set. Even if I could do more, I just keep it at the 10. I want to keep the movement pattern relatively clean. From there, it's looking at other areas that are going to help strengthen your pull-ups. So, for upper back area specifically, we have shrugs. Shrugs solve or work, two different things. One, when you retract your scapula like you do at the start of pull-ups, like trying to get that engaged feeling, it's obviously going to work your mid-back. And then shrugging with a reduced range of motion, you're hitting your traps really quite hard. Traps are going to help stabilize your scapula. The more control you have in that area and the more stability you have in that area, the more efficiently you're going to be able to move your body. Now, the other thing, when you're working with shrugs, if you can work the weight up to a point where it's heavier than your body weight by a fair bit, it's going to start to really impact your grip. Now, a lot of people struggle just with forearm and grip strength on pull-ups. The stronger your forearms are, the stronger your grip is as a whole, the easier you're going to find just holding onto the bar. You're not going to waste as much energy, actively concentrating on trying to grip the bar. You can pay more attention to the cues that you actually need, as opposed to, feeling your forearms or your grip starting to give out. So shrugs in that regard, not only do they work the upper back and help with the stability of the scapula, but they're also a really good grip strength tool. So bear that in mind. After that, now something I don't commonly do, but for the sake of the video, I did a few of them, is rows. For a lot of people, they're going to find this hits the mid-back and lats really quite well. Now, with rows, you've got an advantage in terms of you can choose the weight that you want to shift as opposed to your body weight, which, it's set. So with the rows, if you wanted to work up to hitting a set of, 10 pull-ups or whatever your goal is, you want to work up to at least 10 reps with the rows with half your body weight each side. So for me, my goal is to work up to a set of 20 on the pull-ups. That's why I'm doing reps, in the 20 rep range. Again, it comes down to the same cues that we used before, with the pull-ups that, you're going to use with the rows. You want to initiate the movement from the back of the elbow, or you can think of the back of the arm. A lot of people, really won't pay too much attention to how they row, so they'll just start pulling the weight. If you just pull the weight off the ground, there's a very high chance that you're just going to pull with the arms and not really work the back as effectively as you could. Arms, yes, they're a weakness, but we can come back and address that later versus, we want a few exercises that are going to work specifically the area that we're after. Because if we can get the prime movers to fire first and fire efficiently and having a stable base, it means they're going to do the majority of the work. then the weak links are literally that. They're just the weak links that we can work on, being, the biceps and forearms, and we can bring them up to speed. But if we start, mucking around with the movement pattern and have different muscle groups firing at the wrong time, it really, to an extent, if you're just relying on your arms only, it's a very poor way to achieve pull-ups. You really want to initiate the movement each time with, a bit of scapular retraction. You've got the tightness in your mid and upper back, and then you want to pull with your lat, because it's going to be the far more effective. On top of that as well, using those cues to generate enough power when you're doing pull-ups and doing them then explosively later on, that's going to pave the way to being able to do muscle-ups. So, doing a strict muscle up with, no leg drive, no swinging, or any of that is extremely difficult. You can do the kipping version, but again, if you want to get to that stage and you've got the other cues down pat, and, you're pulling with your lats, you got your upper back firing and tight the way that you need, you're going to find it so much easier just to even do the kipping pull-ups kipping muscle ups or whatever you need. It's just about setting that base work foundation. Then after that, you can move on to the weaker links. So for me, I was just mucking around with the kettlebells, and this is just to hit biceps. For me, I prefer the concentration curl version. Now with a kettlebell as opposed to a dumbbell, kettlebell, it swings around a bit and the center of gravity sort of pivots. It's quite a awkward item to curl. So I've just been mucking around with those for something different. But a lot of the time, I'll just do my regular dumbbell curls. Now in terms of sets and reps for anything, I find 4 sets of 10 generally works quite well. The exception being that first set of the pull-ups, where I want to try and AMRAP as much as possible. After that, it's just about going for straight sets. The shrugs, I'll keep them on the higher rep spectrum. That's because if I find that it works better for my traps, I can feel them burn, I can feel them engage, but also that longer time under tension is more beneficial than for my forearms and grip. So that's just another issue or another problem that I can then solve simply by taking the reps up higher. The rows, 4 sets of 10 for most people work really quite well, and then once you hit the body weight, half body weight each side, it's up to you if you want to chase the reps further or if you wish to go with a heavier load. For me, I find that I struggle with total reps. That's a weakness for me, so I'm working on it more as opposed to just simply going heavier. Bicep curls, kettlebell curls, whatever you want to do. I'm just keeping this at 4 sets of 10. Really works quite well. And then again, just progressing the weight each time I can. You can reduce the break times if you want, or you can go GVT method with them. It's really up to the individual and what you're trying to achieve at that time. But there's just a few things that I've found is really quite helpful. So hit like and subscribe.